What's going on, y'all? I got it. What's going on, y'all? It's me, Troy, and I'm here with a video on the soccer field, talking and filming a video and talking about books because staying active is so important. And I got my tripod, so it really is working out. So I want to talk about some of the books that I read in the month of May, which is, we're still on the 28th. You got that one? As it concerns my reading of Asian Pacific Islander reading month theme, something like that. So the first book that I read was The Apology, and I don't think I'm gonna have time to really go into depth about it. I really just want to share what I thought, but I read The Apology. It's about a 105-year-old South Korean woman who in the past she intercepted or tried to save face, that cultural implication in Asia, a lot of Asian cultures. She intercepted the illegitimacy of one of her son's child by shipping the child to America. But now her problem is that her great-grandchild is about to get married to her great-grandnephew. So now her past chess moves and deeds are coming back to haunt her and her family. So that's going to really complicate her necessity to maintain saving face for their family. I really did enjoy that book. But the problem that I had was like in the third act when the author decided to basically kill the main character. I'm spoiling it here. She decided to kill the main character, and instead of us having the narrative operate from reality, it decides to operate from the afterlife, where she gets to make moments of atonement for her past deeds and essentially intercept the marriage through the form of being some incorporeal or ghost-like form. I do not like stuff like that in a book, especially that big switch in direction in the last 140 something pages. Now, if she was just going to be in a comatose state and come out of it and then make amends and atonement with her family and her dark deeds from the past, I would have been cool with that. But the fact that the author left her in the afterlife, I was like, you know what? I don't like this. It really did just disconnect me from the whole story. And while I tried to hang in there, when I got to probably about 40 pages from the end, I just skimmed. I didn't care anymore. I didn't care. My problem with a lot of books that do that is that I don't like reading stories where I feel like it feels like a hallucination. So when she was in the afterlife, she was going through walls and all this kind of stuff. It's just a big switch that totally disconnected me from the story. Other than that, I liked it. I was really intrigued. After that, I read Real Americans by Rachel Kuhong, I believe her name is. What a good book. But, first, it had to do with this multi-generational Chinese family. The setup is that there's three narratives. The first one is of a woman named Lily who is at the beginning of the millennial. She's moving on through the millennial. Her name is Lily, and then eventually Lily marries this wealthy Caucasian man, billionaire, and has his son. But there are some secrets going on with the paternity of her son, as well as Lily's own mother, who's a scientist, and her relationship with that son's family. So the third narrative, so we travel through that narrative with Lily, and then the third narrative have us seeing Lily's son, his particular struggles with feeling accepted, but finding his way through life, knowing that he doesn't have a father, but eventually during his narrative he finds his father and tries to foster a relationship, which he succeeds in doing. But he just didn't know who he is, where he came from, who his father is, that sort of thing. So there was a really big shift in his identity struggles in his particular narrative. And then we go back to Lily's mother, May, in the 1960s, before she arrived as an immigrant to America, and her role during the Cultural Revolution, which I think that was kind of my favorite area of the story, because I really love those historic poignant points that are reflected in both nonfiction and fiction of how someone survived that whole ordeal under Mao. But her mother has a lot of secrets, and she has her own set of atonements to make with her own family. So I've read a lot of family sagas this month. But anyway, I really did enjoy this book. However, I have to say that from all three perspectives, I found the narrative voices, all told in the first person, to be rather distant. It really read to me much more like these characters were relaying events that had occurred, instead of us, the reader, actually living those events out with them. So I had a hard time with that, but the story, while not, is that a cicada? While the story was not all that totally gripping, and that whole blend of science and genetics lended itself to having a little bit of a speculative fiction, just notes of that in it. It still was a family saga that, although it was pretty decent, I have to say that I didn't really care for the tone of the narrative. It just really felt too distant for me, and almost like I was reading some kind of letters being told. But other than that, it told a decent story. So Real Americans was solid. That, unlike the Apology, I read through and through. But yeah, the primary themes of that is, you make your own luck, or you make your own destiny in life, and you find your own identity and stuff like that. But it had a lot of closure. Even with all the trouble between all the characters, there was a level of closure that really kept me gripping. So the next book that I read was On Earth We Are All Beautiful, or is it Gorgeous? Beautiful, by Ocean Vuong. That was a really good book. That book had to do with this Vietnamese boy, which at first it was hard to gather his age, but you learned that he was 14 in 2003, so you can do the math. I'm just like, well, what area of time are we in? I was having troubles with, but it basically is about his life growing up it's basically an epistle, a love letter of sorts to his mother, growing up as an immigrant, her being an immigrant, and him also, but growing up in America, and how there's that cultural difference between the two, and that, as obviously to be, as she was from Vietnam, and he was growing up in America, although from Vietnam. But the twist is that he's gay, and although that was not the biggest, the biggest concept the novel revolved around, when it did revolve around it, I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. But ultimately, this book was, like I said, a letter between the son to his mother, recounting both the good times that they had together as well as the bad, because she was fairly abusive to him, and him also sharing his love life and those sort of things. Very good book. At first, I didn't think I was going to be able to read it, but after a while, I really did warm up. Well, not warm up, but I really did find comfort in the character's tone and his voice and the narrative overall, and settled in real nicely with that book. So I thought On Earth We Are All Beautiful was great. I even almost kind of teared up when he recounted growing up with his grandmother. And then there was a moment in the book where he was at her bedside while she was dealing with cancer. And it's something that resonated with me to an incredible degree, that I almost shed a tear at how powerful those scenes were. But after that, I tried to read Daughter of the Moon Goddess. I was very fearful that it was going to read like a young adult book, and that's exactly what it did. After about 60 or 40 or 60 pages, I gave up completely on the book, and it was like, there's no way I can read this book. There's no shade to young adult books or young adult readers, but I look for a level of depth and detail when it comes to reading, and that book lacked a lot of it. It lacked a lot of it. The setup, the start of it seemed decent, but post that, it just instantly failed. It instantly failed. That I just couldn't. There was no way I was gonna be able to read that book. I want to regurgitate is the right point. I want to regurgitate furthermore about what troubled me about that book, but basically, I don't like when an author tells me where we at, what was going on, but not give me any details. So you have this daughter of a goddess who falls from the sky and meets this random woman in the bamboo woods. We don't know who this woman is, and we don't know where she's at in China, I believe, or the Celestial Kingdom, as they say. And she goes to this castle to become this maiden to this royal girl or whatever. And I don't know who this royal family is. I don't know who this noble family is. I don't know anything. I don't even know. They just give the name of the castle. I don't know have any details about the castle. All I know is it's a castle in a bamboo forest, and that's it. And that's frustrating for me, especially when it comes to a book that is so centric on cultural mythology, such as, you know, the Chinese mythology of the moon goddess or whatnot. So yeah, there was nothing in there for me to capture, and I was through. I was especially through when the trope of the bullied girl, main character, having caught the eyes of the glorious prince of the castle. I was like, oh god, here we go. But I knew that was going to be the case. That's why I wish I'd never bought the book, but I can't get mad at myself for that. I donated it, and somebody who is much more, that's a cicada, somebody else will find some joy out of it, but I was thrown with it. Another book on my reading list that I was going to read was A Legend Born, I think, or A Hero Born. I can't think of the author's name. It's a translated Chinese fantasy book, but I really didn't want to get into the Kung Fu thing, and I just want to lessen my TBR in general and try to really focus on the stuff that I really wanted to read. But yeah, I am 150 pages as of now from the end of Out by Natsuo Kirino. I went heavy on it this past few days, and I mean, I started it Saturday and here it is Tuesday, and I'm already almost done. It's a reread from that took me 19 years to get to, and it's just it kind of shows that 19 years ago, when I wasn't reading mysteries, that I did have a fair amount of taste. I'll put it that way. Even then, I still had a fair amount of taste, and I'm not a pretentious reader or anything like that, but that's a good ass book that I picked up back then, and to have started reading now is still equally as gripping and good. But on top of that, I did check out a graphic novel that I wanted to read by I think it's a Japanese author. It's not a graphic novel, but a manga, a single story manga, as far as I know, that has to do with some horror and sci-fi elements in it. And I thought that would be a good little genre kick to add to all the family sagas I've been reading, and this noir when it comes in the form of Out. So that is it. I actually did it. I hope y'all stuck around. I actually did it. I played soccer, or kicked the soccer ball back and forth, and gave a wrap up of the books that I read in the month of May. And now I'm about to get ready to go home and read some more. And I'm gonna put my shrimp on. Shrimp, rice, and mushrooms. I know it's kind of something, but I'm watching my weight. I'm trying to get rid of this winter weight still. But yeah, and then I'm gonna play Stellar Blade, turn on the air conditioner, and start that reading Out. I'll probably be finishing before the end of the week. I'm sure I will. So anyway, that's it, guys. I thank y'all so much for joining me here. And that ball just went past me. Can you see it? Yeah, I thank y'all so much for being with me. I love y'all so much. And I don't say love to nobody, but I do. I appreciate those who really come to the channel and communicate and talk with me, whether you understand what I'm saying or not. I mean, I do appreciate it. It keeps me going. Like I said, it makes my life feel bigger than it actually is, being able to talk with people all over the country and world. But yeah, I gotta get ready to go home, and I need me a boost of coffee. I did it! I can't wait to go home and look and see how this video is gonna turn out. But I'm uploading it anyway, because I've been wanting to get this out of my system for a while. So if you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments. Like I said, I'm not as thorough while I'm multitasking, but sometimes multitasking is how I get through things. All right, that's my last kick. Bye, y'all.